The Soyuz moving to a safe distance away from the International Space Station for the initiation of a deorbit burn at 10:09 and 46 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:09 and 46 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. This is basically a braking maneuver to enable the Soyuz to drop out of orbit for its high-speed entry back to Earth.
Москвы, ВГ-1 по радиограмме 55.
Отвечаем, ВГ-1.
Умнейший выполнил съемку сколочного узла.
We're back, baby.
You saw it. He just did it in person. I'm going to drop that lower third for a second. But it is 9 o'clock. It is Monday night. It is December 8th. And Tony P is back in the United States, back in Washington, D.C., and back in our streaming podcast studio. This is the Live Zone
no more
Prime
3
Time.
a.m.
Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching on Fox 5's YouTube page or if you're watching on Fox Local right now. I'm producer Chris. That's Tony P. Like I said, Tony P, welcome back.
What's up, sir? I missed you guys.
We missed you too. I appreciated you spending some time with us last week.
My pleasure, but I like not being up at 3 a.m. I like being up at 9. This is nice.
As someone who did it for the last 16 years, working mornings, I completely understand where you're coming from.
You know what though? You did a wonderful job of making the show look seamless.
Well, I appreciate
of beaming me in like Star Wars and making with the guests and having us look really good. Again, even with like the screen type of thing I was doing with the Zoom, you made it look really nice. And again, it shows that we can do it when we need to. But you know what? I do love being in studio, of course, 100% hanging out with you and just having this conversation because our chemistry was good. But our chemistry is even better when it's in here. So I'm so excited to be back. And I missed you guys.
Right. Well, we missed you too, Tony P. And
I love Europe, though. I did love Europe.
I'll be honest with you, though. You traveled a very long way, but I want to start things off with this live picture that you may have seen when we started our YouTube. You did not travel nearly as far as NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, because what you are looking at right now is a live picture from outer space. That is the Soyuz spacecraft. It undocked from the International Space Station just about 20 minutes ago at 8:41 p.m. Eastern Time, and it has begun the trip back to Earth. You came back from Brussels in Italy. He's coming back from an 8-month deployment to the International Space Station. So that is set to land, that spacecraft, in Kazakhstan at 10 a.m. local time. That's midnight our time. And I mean, he spent the last 8 months on the International Space Station in outer space. Can you imagine?
I mean, think about, like, again, it's a very, first of all, the spacecraft is very small quarters. So even negotiating for the next few hours to get down to Earth is going to be quite the interesting thing. Talking about a new experience. I thought traveling 10 hours on a plane was tough.
Right.
One. Number two, when you look at the International Space Station, there were some problems in the last year or so with getting people off that space station. We actually had to have private companies like SpaceX get involved to help NASA get that accomplished. Or just getting this ship or this craft off of the International Space Station is a lot to deal with by itself. So there's that stress. And then number two, the wait time to get to Kazakhstan, a totally different environment as well. And just think about the gravity.
Oh my goodness.
Like when you're spending 8 months in not just a new place visually, but you're floating and you have to navigate the weight and just your body overall. I mean, it's a cool engagement, of course. I mean, to be up there, it's an honor to be to represent the country doing that type of exploration. But it is not easy up there. It's safe, but we've had some problems getting people in and out of the space station. So you know what? It takes a lot of courage just to get up there and do it.
And I will just say, you know, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but astronaut
really
Johnny
cool,
Kim, if you look up what he has done in his life, he is a former Navy SEAL, he is a pilot, he is an astronaut, he is a physicist.
Got it right here.
Goodness gracious. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that in the meantime, but we also are keeping an eye on some stories back here at home too. And we want to start off with one that's happening in Frederick right now. New at 9 o'clock, Frederick County residents speaking out on a controversial permit over the possibility of dozens of diesel generators being built near an elementary school. The emergency public hearing got underway earlier tonight at Carroll Manor Elementary School, and this is to address the draft air quality permit for an Amazon data center. The permit still needs approval, but it would install 99 diesel-fired emergency generators if authorized.
The data centers are coming, and we're wanting to make sure that we're being good stewards as far as our constituents are concerned, and we want to make sure that we're putting the safeguards in place that keep our constituents and their families safe, while understanding that they have an opportunity for free enterprise and business.
So residents are concerned about safety, air pollution, and noise since it is less than a mile away from an elementary school. Our Nana Sentuabantu is covering the story. She will be live on Fox 5 News at 10 o'clock with more on this, Tony P. But these data centers are such a huge issue all across our region.
Oh yes, and this was a big deciding point of the governor's race in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger talked about it, trying to walk that fine line between making sure that the people are taken care of in these areas, these suburban NOVA districts, and into Maryland as well. And then also making sure, yes, you can have enough electricity, enough power to cover all of these AI bots and the systems that are being built for AI consumption. A lot of folks across the economic spectrum use these products at work and in their personal life, so you have to balance those things out. That was a major issue in the election over a month ago. What's interesting, though, and this goes back to my consulting days, I used to do a lot of renewable energy consulting, where we would think about what the new grids are going to look like, how you do backup power to support a lot of these new projects coming online. The biggest concern is intermittent power. And that's why these generators are important, because you have to have some type of backup power in the event that either a renewable source doesn't work. Because again, they're trying to do renewable sources with these Amazon and Microsoft data centers to try to be good stewards. The problem is that there isn't the intermittent power. That means continuous flowing power. They need to find the power somewhere else so everything doesn't shut down. And not only do the AI models stop working, but also the grid doesn't shut down. So that's why the diesel generators are usually the last resort. And this is a part of when you have this over-electric consumption with the new AIs and all these different new technologies being brought online so quickly, and these grids are so old, they need to fill in the gap that is created through whether it be LNG or some of the more renewable sources and even traditional gas. So you got to find that backup power, and sadly, that's where generators are needed right now. That's the explanation. What I think overall is that you cannot have these situations happening close to schools or to hospitals or to things that are going to be, I think, mission critical. Because when you look at it, are AI data centers mission critical? Not exactly. Because again, you'll see with hospitals, they have backup generators on site that are tied to an LNG or they're tied to a gas pipeline or the grid. The problem is that's to help with life-saving functions. Do you need to have these extra generators towards a hospital or an educational resource? I don't think so, to support these things. If you want to put them out a little bit further along,
just
do
say
that.
Though,
but
remember,
it doesn't make sense with this.
That massive outage recently that affected not only schools, but it affected people's coffee machines.
Right.
And it was all because of issues at a data center. So, you know, obviously a lot of what we rely on derives power, energy, processing from these data centers. We'll have much more on this, of course, coming up.
Yeah,
and
speaking
of power, Councilwoman Wanda Blagay from Prince George's County had a hearing earlier tonight about energy prices in Prince George's County. We're hoping to connect with her. We'll try to get that for you coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime, the other big story today that we want to get to was right here in the nation's capital, and that is the search for a new top cop, because Police Chief Pamela Smith announced this morning that she is stepping down after nearly 2 years in the position. And right after that announcement, she sat down with Fox 5 to talk about the decision. Take a listen.
I have been going nonstop. I have missed many amazing celebrations, birthdays, marriages, you name it, within our family. And being able to come home for Thanksgiving 2 years after my mom passed really resonated with me.
So shortly after that sit-down, Chief Smith and Mayor Bowser appeared together for a year-in-review briefing focused on policing and public safety. The mayor says the chief has brought crime down. However, critics question the chief's timing, citing a Justice Department and congressional investigation into allegations that the MPD may have manipulated crime data. Chief Smith says that played no role in her decision. However, she has faced criticism from both sides of the political aisle, both for the department's role in the president's immigration enforcement efforts and the so-called crime emergency that led to the president's federal takeover of the police force over the summer. Mayor Bowser says she will first look internally to fill the chief's position, but said she would not rule out the possibility of hiring someone from the outside. Chief Smith's last day is December 31st. And Tony P., this is part of an even bigger shakeup here in the city, because as we know, Mayor Bowser has announced that she will not run for re-election, so she has another year on her term. We've also seen multiple members of the D.C. Council either throw their hat in the ring to either run for mayor, or they plan to run for a congressional seat, or the Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton's seat. So a major shakeup in the D.C. leadership at this point.
I think the situations over the summer with the emergency declaration by the president, I think the fallout from that, again, we saw that, whether it be on the more like one side of the aisle, the Democratic side, as well as the Republican side, there was a lot of, I think, anger and frustration among the citizens over the summer and into the fall. And I think Mayor Bowser, the administration, and officials are thinking to themselves, you know what, maybe it is time to shake things up in D.C. It's been this way for a couple years now. We've also had the same mayor for multiple terms. And I think that this is maybe a generational shift. Maybe, again, we're seeing different candidates emerge. There's this kind of fault line we're seeing, more progressive versus more establishment Democrat, kind of making its way here in D.C. And I think they're looking at what happened in New York. And, with Mayor-elect Mamdani's election, what that means in terms of, metropolises like D.C., like New York. How is city governance going to change? And I think a lot of folks, from city councilors to the police chief, are saying, you know what, maybe it's time to do something different, bring in new leadership. And also, I understand what the chief is saying. Like, it's a very tough job. I've met the chief a couple of times. She's a wonderful individual, and I think she's done an excellent job with the cards that she's been dealt, as well as the mayor. But it can be stressful. And with everything going on, the chaos with D.C., a new administration, a controversial administration like this one, I think 2 years can weigh like 4 or 5 years. So I think this is what she's doing. I respect that decision. I think Mayor Bowser as well. I think they've laid the groundwork to make up for some of the issues in 2023 with the crime wave. I think with the new stadiums and new buildings being brought online, I think they've left the city in good hands. I think they said, you know what, it's time for me to step aside and not deal with that stress anymore. I don't blame them. And I think it's a time for new leadership.
Well, you can check out the chief's full interview with Steve Chenevey that aired this morning on Fox 5 on our website and Fox Local, fox5dc.com. Speaking of changes of leadership, Tony P., now let's get to the other huge story that people all across D.C. are talking about.
Yes.
And that is unfortunately, that disaster of a Commanders game yesterday. And now there are some fans out there wondering whether it's time for a little shakeup on this team as well. The Vikings embarrassed the Burgundy and Gold 31-0. You see the score right there yesterday. And to add insult to injury, it was this scene that had so many fans of the Commanders just collectively gasping, slapping their foreheads, whatever it was. Quarterback Jayden Daniels left the game hurt once again after taking a hard hit and landing on the same arm that he had hurt earlier in the season. Remember, he dislocated his elbow, his non-throwing elbow. But as of right now, head coach Dan Quinn says it shouldn't be a long-term issue. Take a listen.
He did kind of land directly, on his elbow. It's sore. The doctors evaluated him today. The good news for that, John, there's no long-term concerns, but we'll continue to monitor and, trying to take everything into account as the week goes. I don't have an update for you yet regarding playing. It's sore today, but the good news is no long-term, but I don't have an update as far as the game yet.
So no long-term issues, but no update as of this weekend. JD5 wasn't the only one to leave the field early, unfortunately, though, because veteran tight end Zach Ertz had to be carted off after taking a helmet to the knee. Coach Quinn confirmed today he is done for the season. The Commanders have now dropped 8 straight. They are 3-10 on the season. They'll face the Giants this Sunday. Like I said, no word if Jayden will be back on the field. But for more on the Commanders, Jayden's latest injury, whether he should have been out there at all, we want to get to our friend, award-winning sports journalist Kelsey Nicole Nelson, joining us now live. We wish it was under better circumstances.
We keep doing this to you.
You do. One of these.
Karma does it.
Positive energy, you guys, because I think people think I'm just negative Nancy all the time.
No, it is absolutely not your fault. These are the cards to which they have been dealt to you.
The gods have dealt this to us.
But obviously, going into the game yesterday, we talked to tons of fans ahead of time, and they were very split on whether he should play. Even if he was fully healthy, whether to put Jayden Daniels back in the game. They obviously this season, it hasn't gone the way fans hoped. There's still a lot, 4 games left in the season. But was it more important for him to get back out there and get the reps and learn something, or was it more important to protect him, in your opinion?
Oh my gosh, we are choosing violence early. I love it, Chris. So this is probably the hottest topic right now for sports fans in the DMV. I actually flew out of town this weekend out of DCA, so I was surrounded by a lot of Commanders fans who actually made the trip to Minnesota for the game. So I had a chance to talk to a lot of them, and had a chance last week to join your own Chad Ricardo on Game Time to talk about this. I will say this: Jayden Daniels in his second year, right? We know he's been unfortunately injury prone this season, but we also know the power of JD5. I still saw a lot of Jayden Daniels gear. Everyone was excited to have him back in terms of a fan perspective. And I think we do have to remember he is still young in the infancy. And remember, a lot of the talk going into this game was, of course, getting Noah Brown back on that football field. We know the Commanders had released Chris Moore to release a roster spot on that 53-man roster, even though I know Noah Brown underperformed in this game, but again, just coming back. And they were trying to find some type of continuity, right? Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. I have said, and I have been on record, Chris, to say I did want to see Jayden Daniels back at least for some reps, but I actually did want to see Marcus Mariota play more for a couple reasons. One, I think the Commanders need to solidify a backup quarterback. We're in a league right now where quarterback play is so important, and there's a quarterback crisis. Look what's happening right now with the Indianapolis Colts. They're down 3 quarterbacks essentially, and calling on old man Rivers at 44 years old, right, to potentially come back and play. Marcus Mariota was signed to this team for an $8 million one-year deal. So I think, again, with what's happening with Jayden Daniels, we need to look at the backup quarterback play. Also looking, of course, next season, we're looking at the Commanders potentially having a top 5 pick right now, 39% odds of that for the draft. But all to say, I mean, of course, now it's easy to say, yes, probably he shouldn't have played, but really the play he got hurt on, remember, was a mistake by him, right? Throwing that interception and essentially trying to make a saving play.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, was that a learning experience in and of itself, that a franchise quarterback does not try to tackle a defensive end or safety who just picked him off?
I don't know if he can.
Where you are getting blindsided?
Oh, you hate it because at that point in the game, let's remember, folks, it was 14-0 at the half. Many fans had probably already gave up on the game then, right? 24-0 after third quarter. You didn't want to see that, but I also understand the heroics because he is a gamer, right? Jayden Daniels wants the best for this team, but the biggest kind of knock on JD5 his entire time in Washington is him protecting his own self from his own greatness. And so you didn't like to see that, but at the same time, I mean, if he didn't do it, we'd be complaining about that too, Chris, right? Like he just gave up on the play. So I feel like sometimes you can't win. You hate to see JD5 down, but let's be honest, the team is officially out of the playoffs now. I know it hurts. They are one of 9 teams from last season that's officially out, which means all the other playoff teams last season, folks, they're still doing well. The Commanders not being one of those teams. So it just hurts right now, especially because all the remaining games, you're looking at those divisional games. You hate to lose to division rivals. And so that's what it looks like is going to happen, unfortunately.
And of course, you just mentioned again that very sad news that the Commanders are now out of the playoffs. We did see earlier this year that Dan Quinn took over defensive calling duties and made a shift in the coaching. Do you sense now with this continued slide throughout the season and we're out of the playoffs, going into next year with a high pick, do you sense that there's going to be a potential shakeup with more coaching decisions and potential firings as well as personnel changes? Or do you sense that in the building that this just may be a fluke because we got hit with the injury bug this year?
Yeah, I mean, the injury bug will always kind of be, a little asterisk on this season, Tony P, right? We have to be honest with ourselves. The Commanders were just dealt some very bad cards and now dealt them again. You talked about the Zach Ertz injury. And remember, that was such a big loss. I've been calling him all season Mr. Reliable. He was the second leading receiver on this Commander squad, right? So you're down somebody who was very productive. On the defensive side, there have been a lot of questions about, Joe Witt and obviously Dan Quinn stepping in. You just gave up 313 yards to a struggling, before this game, Minnesota Vikings team and a J.J. McCarthy, who many people were asking questions about. You give up 162 yards on the ground. But again, Tony P, me and you have discussed this being a aging defense. So I do think there will be questions. I do think something's going to have to change because this new ownership group has said, we need new in Washington. And honestly, the last time I really see fans like being this depressed was before the Jayden Daniels days, right? I worked for the team during those days. So I know what it was like before those days. So all that to say, I do think there is going to be something that has to change. And probably the defense is what you are going to be looking at. And that's kind of why, of course, these next couple of games as we end the season are going to be crucial if fans are going to keep any hope in this Commander squad. And yeah, defensively, the Commanders did not improve. Again, you gave up 31 points, and then on offense, you couldn't score anything. And let's remember also, you guys, there was a 12, they had a 12-minute drive. A 12-minute drive.
Still could score.
98 yards. You just can't allow that. Any defensive guy is going to be bad at that.
Right.
Look back at
So I apologize. I stepped away to check on some breaking news. But you may have covered this. But what do you kind of want to see from this team moving forward into these final 4 games? Do you want to see them kind of play spoiler for some of their NFC East rivals because they are playing the Giants, the Eagles twice in Dallas? Do you want to see them playing for pride, or do you want to see them playing for a draft pick?
Oh my gosh, Dan Quinn talked about, this team just needing to get some continuity. So I just need them to get some type of consistency and something. He talked about better communication, better flow, better timing. So honestly, I mean, yes, for the fans, you need to play for something. You want some pride on that squad. But honestly, I think you're really playing for the next man up mentality, meaning who deserves to stay on this squad. We're looking at, there's a good amount of going to be free agents after this season. So Washington has some personnel decisions to make. I think the other part of this, like you said, I mean, if you're from the DMV area, these rivalries are huge, and right now the only team you're better than in the division is the New York Football Giants, and Giants have a lot of issues going on themselves. As we look at that. But then let's also remember, the Cowboys right now are one of the hottest teams in football, right? And then the Eagles, I know they're currently playing right now as we talk. So all that to say, I just think there's a lot there.
And losing 7-3, in case anyone out there was wondering. 5.5 minutes left in the second.
That might make some people happy, Chris, in the DMV area. But all that to say, I mean, I think at this point, you're just playing for pride, right? Yeah. You need something to salvage. You need morale in that locker room. And let's be honest, I think for Dan Quinn, these next couple of games are crucial as well, just to ensure that the Commanders have the right man leading the charge.
Right. And now what is the feeling inside the locker room among those players who were so amped last year? They built this team through a lot of camaraderie. Has that camaraderie shifted, do you think, or have they still kept that attitude together even in this struggling season?
Yeah, I think one of the most important and kind of one of the most pivotal moments of the game that I remember was when Zach Ertz went down and was on that cart. Do you guys remember who came over to him? Marcus Mariota, and how just emotional he was. And I think people have to remember this team is very close. Despite what's happening on the football field, again, they ride for each other. They know they're better than what their record shows. So all that to say, I think the guys still have it. They love seeing some guys get back. And honestly, they hate this outcome too, right? They're disappointed in themselves. They want to get better. So all in all, I still expect them to compete. And honestly, when you have nothing to play for and another team is playing for something, I do think that kind of changes the mentality, right? And let's also remember, football is a business. These guys are also playing for contracts and money, Chris and Tony P. So what you do still does matter. Speaking of which, remember, Jayden Daniels will be eligible for a contract extension after year 3. So this was also a pivotal year for him as we think about his future in Washington and as we think about a franchise quarterback. So just want to put that out there.
Exactly.
That everything
Next year, baby.
does matter
That's right.
in people.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, hopefully, things are better, next season. But sports journalist Kelsey Nicole Nelson, thank you so much for spending some time with us, breaking
Always
this down,
a pleasure.
and playing along when I choose violence.
That's the kind of show we have here.
That's right. We still got 4 weeks to go, so we might be calling on you again soon. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. All right, Tony P. We'll have to wait and see. We'll keep an eye on this Eagles score, too, because this
10-3.
10-3
Just
now.
went up.
10-3.
How do you feel about that, my
Chargers
friend?
in the lead. I'm not shocked, to be honest with you, after the last few games.
You sweating a little bit?
I think there are clearly some locker room issues or coaching issues happening on this team right now. And they are not the team that won the Super Bowl last year. There's still a lot of time left. They still got some major challenges ahead of them.
The veterans are gone, so some of that veteran leadership.
We will wait and see. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Tony's going to talk about what he's watching today. We're also going to keep an eye on some breaking news. We heard about a gas leak in Silver Spring. We have a crew there. So far, it seems like everything could be okay. Good. We'll keep you posted. We'll get an update on the other side of the break, hopefully. But as of right now, we're going to leave you with a live picture from, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. This camera's changing as we go.
It's mystery.
As of right now, it's the wheel.
Hey, Oxon Hill, Maryland.
Hill,
now we're going to Virginia. Mount Weather? There's a place called Mount Weather?
Taking a break. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Monday night. And you see that little banner at the bottom of the screen.
Do.
It says what Tony's watching. And Tony's been watching these stories from this side of the Atlantic.
Yes, nowhere in the world is Tony
this week. He's on the
this
same
week.
time zone.
Yes.
He's not living in the future. So all of these stories will be right
Or in the words of Neil
out.
Diamond, heading to the future.
Heading to the future.
Great song.
Well played.
I tell you, 1986, good one. All right.
This guy and his Neil
I'm
badge.
getting there, you know? Okay, now.
I love it.
But now it's time for the rundown. What's Tony P? What's Tony P watching? Okay, good singing tonight. President Trump has unveiled a $12 billion aid package today for American farmers caught in the crossfires of his trade wars with China. The relief includes $12 billion in direct payments through a new farm bridge assistance program, with checks expected by February. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says the funds will help producers market this year's harvest and plan for next season. But critics warn it's just a Band-Aid. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar called it insufficient after Trump's tariffs devastated soybean exports, with farmers losing an average of $89 per acre this year. China has virtually stopped buying American soybeans until an October agreement, and purchases still lag far behind what farmers have needed in 2025 and beyond. Going to the Supreme Court has heard arguments today that could dramatically reshape the balance of power in Washington. At issue, whether President Trump can fire Federal Trade Commission member Rebecca Kelly Slaughter without cause. The conservative justices appeared ready to overturn a 90-year precedent that protects independent agencies from political pressure. Trump administration officials argue that the president needs illimitable authority over all executive branch officials, but liberal justices warn this could create what Slaughter calls a fourth branch under complete presidential control. The decision could impact more than 24 independent agencies that regulate everything from nuclear waste to consumer products. In the foreign policy world tonight, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Britain, France, and Germany leaders today in London, seeking stronger security commitments as peace talks with the U.S. are at a stalemate. The meeting follows a failed weekend negotiation in Miami and comes after President Trump's son suggested that America could walk away if Ukraine doesn't quickly agree to Russian demands. Zelensky told reporters that Ukraine has neither the legal nor moral right to cede territory to Russia. The administration's 28-point peace plan, which initially called for territorial concessions, has been scaled back to 20 points, after which Zelensky has called obvious anti-Ukrainian points were removed. Meanwhile, Russia launched fresh drone attacks over the weekend, a reminder that Moscow is not softening its stance either, folks. In Hollywood today, the fight for Warner Bros. Discovery just got a little uglier, folks. Paramount launched a hostile $108 billion takeover bid today, going directly to shareholders just days after Netflix agreed to buy the studio for $83 billion. Paramount CEO David Ellison is offering all cash for the entire company, including CNN and cable networks that Netflix deal would have spun off. President Trump says he'll be involved in deciding which deal gets approved, adding another wild card to the already chaotic situation. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos met with Trump at the White House last month to discuss the deal, while Paramount's bid is backed by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner's investment firm. And Trump himself has criticized Paramount this morning over a 60 Minutes interview, calling the show worse under new ownership. So a lot of dynamics at play here just in the last couple hours. In the business world, Home Depot's giant inflatable Christmas decorations have sparked a collector's frenzy. The beloved oversized Santas and reindeers have been nowhere to be found this season, with President Trump's tariffs on Chinese imports getting the blame. One major supplier, Seasonal Visions International, shut down customer support entirely. Desperate shoppers are paying up to $1,000 on resale markets for decorations that normally cost Chris a few hundred. Now heading to Hollywood tonight, the Golden Globe nominations dropped this morning with Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another leading the pack with 9 nominations. The political thriller starring Leonardo DiCaprio will compete for Best Comedy, while Ryan Coogler's vampire drama Sinners earned 7 nominations in the category. HBO's The White Lotus topped television with 6 nods. The ceremony also debuts 2 new categories this year: Best Podcast and Best Stand-Up Special. Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy, Amy Poehler's Good Hang, and Smartless are among the podcast nominees. Notably absent, though, Joe Rogan's top-ranked podcast and all political shows, despite making the initial 25-show shortlist. The 83rd Golden Globes will air January 11th, hosted by Nikki Glaser. And finally, in the social media cacophony world tonight, influencer Alex Earl and Houston Texans wide receiver Braxton Berrios have ended their 2-year relationship. Multiple sources tell us the breakup was mutual, with long distance cited as the main issue. Earl recently finished runner-up on Dancing with the Stars, and Berrios never made it to the live shows due to his NFL schedule. The split was confirmed a couple of days ago, and Earl was spotted partying in Miami this weekend after the breakup, shutting down rumors as well that another NFL quarterback had already slid into her DMs, calling those alleged screenshots fake and photoshopped. So Tell you, I mean, that was a big story. A lot of words today, but you know what?
I know, but
I'm getting deep with this. I'm getting a little bit deeper with the
Tony
details
P is
there.
who I turn to for my Alex Earl relationship gossip. So,
what are your thoughts, my friend, on that? I'm curious. Like, did you know about the dynamics or no?
I did, because I knew that while she was competing on Dancing with the Stars, he was a no-show in the audience, and like there were no like taped messages, like, "Oh, I'm so proud of," all of that kind of thing.
There wasn't.
So there were some rumors there for a while that things weren't going well. I want to bring it back. I know we talked about this in the 7:30 a little bit earlier, but the adding a podcasting category to the Golden Globes is very strange to me. Because
strange, okay.
I do find it very strange, because these podcasts, while entertaining and while things that people are watching, much like movies and TV shows, it's also like it's an interview. You know what I mean? And so there's not a Golden Globe category for best newscast. You know what I mean? And like it seems like an odd thing to extend it to. And to your point earlier, there are so many that got left out, and there are so many different categories of podcasts that it seems weird to kind of lump them all into one category and then hand somebody a Golden Globe for it.
Exactly.
They could have their own award.
Right.
They could have their own award show with different categories of different podcasts. I don't know. Let us know what you think.
The Emmys make more sense.
QR code. You can jump in the YouTube chat. Yeah, it's an odd choice to me.
I mean, stand-up special. I like that, because you know what? Comedy is always viewed as kind of the lesser art, and it shouldn't be, because it's what I think it's the hardest art to do, and I think it doesn't get enough. Credit. So I think it's a good idea to have that.
But
really, a podcast, it's tough.
It seems weird to put Dax Shepard or other Hollywood celebrities who have an interview podcast where they just sit down and hang out with their friends and put that up against one from NPR.
It's different categories. And they rank them with Spotify or Apple TV. They do it all by these different categories: politics, lifestyle. And this is where I think they need to form, whether it's the Golden Globe or the Hollywood Foreign Press or the Academy.
Well, it's not anymore. Now it's just this. Anyway,
they need to form, though, a spin-off version for podcasts and interview shows.
They probably should.
And again, if you want to build the Emmys out a little bit more, do that, because you have talk shows there. You have some news there, too. So again, it just depends on where you put this category.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not going to solve it tonight.
No,
but what
not.
we are going to talk about after the break is Gen Z and money. We pick on them a lot, but at least according to the authors of this new book, they might have their stuff together. And by they, I mean him, because he's Gen Z too. We're going to talk all about it coming up after this. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Monday night. Tony P, not to get too personal, but did you ever have the birds and the bees conversation?
I had those conversations, especially getting close to when I was in middle school and high school and doing the health classes.
Tony
Yes, I
P
did.
was becoming a man, is what he means.
Yes.
Now, what about the other birds and bees?
There's other birds and bees?
There's another birds and bees. All right,
Really?
I want you to take a look at this. This
Wow.
is the title of a new book, "The Financial Facts of Life: Money Secrets No One Ever Taught You." And
definitely
man, oh
needed.
man, when I tell you, that is something I could have a conversation I probably could have used.
God, I could use it now.
When I was a teenager on the cusp of becoming. Anyway, tonight, author Victoria Lakers Kyle joining us live to talk about the book, Gen Z, Money, and More. Thank you so much for joining us, Victoria. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Stand by. There we go. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I love the lead-in, too. Yes, we decided to play on that other awkward conversation.
That was well said.
Okay, well, that
Well
leads me
done.
right into my first question. I love the title because it's another important conversation that apparently so many people are uncomfortable having. Why is that?
I think it's so sensitive. It's a really personal topic. No one wants to talk about how they don't have money. I think a lot of people find it stressful and just want to ignore it. Some people don't know, and so there's discomfort there. I think there's a lot of different reasons, but money is definitely a sensitive topic for a lot of people.
When you look at this debate that Gen Z and other younger generations are having, is it about the cost going up and is salaries not changing for that? Is it about the fact that we don't save enough money? In that conversation, what do you think is the main driver of a lot of the affordability issues that we're having as a younger generation? Is it kind of in the middle, or is it more about what we're not able to earn versus saving?
I think there's a lot of different factors. Obviously, things are much more expensive. You look at inflation and what it looks like now. But I think there's also, with social media, there's so many influencers that they see, and they need to have the new car or the $18 avocado toast or those kind of things that our parents weren't really spending on. And so I think you see two different pieces. Things are more expensive, and the sort of lifestyles creep coming together. And so a lot of people, we have the term Henry, right? High earner, not yet rich. And so you see people that have the money that just aren't making the good decisions. So I think there's a whole range of reasons behind it.
Yeah, we talked about the financial flexing recently on one of our shows here at Fox 5. You're a parent, so how do you kind of begin the approach of talking to kids about money to kind of set them up financially for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, and I would argue it's just as important as any topic they learn in school, right? And as far as their stress levels as they grow up. So I think, it can be having an allowance early on, right? And talking about something like the 50, 30, 20 budgeting. And so needs, wants, and saving. And they can do that with $5 that they earn from their chores starting out with, right? A lot of it is learning good habits. And so just like anything else, like you're teaching them manners or good nutrition or things like that, it can be an early conversation that then you build on. And in our book, we talk about, it starts really with our main character. It's a story, but it talks about her getting her first job and what that looks like, and if she's looking at cars and career choices and that kind of thing. There's so many different decision points along the way, and there's a lot of different nuances. And so to the extent that you can have those conversations and reinforce it over and over again, you definitely help kids learn good habits, which is so important.
What do you think are the biggest cost drivers among younger generations that they're spending on that they may not even realize they're doing on a consistent basis that could be holding them back as they try to, again, if they're earning high amounts, to actually become rich and get into that next chapter of their life?
Yeah, I know I personally have a nasty Amazon habit, right? You go on one click and it shows up. I think there's DoorDash and Uber and all the apps now that make things so easy to have things conveniently delivered to you. I ordered 5 donuts the other day, and somehow with all of the different fees, it ended up being $60.
Yep.
It completely blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's $12 a donut. Like, how on earth did that happen?
So like when people go into these, spending decisions, I do it all the time. I have a certain budget I like to set every month. I usually am over that budget, and it's getting really bad at this point. Because like I said, I have these moments where I just spend things and say, you know what? Oh, it's only a couple bucks. I'll make it up another way. What are some things that people can do in that moment when they're going to make the click on Amazon, or they're going to buy the DoorDash, or they're going to go out to dinner again? What is the process that they can go through to justify a purchase or talk themselves off the ledge from making that purchase?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things. One, we talk about the pay yourself first. And so if you're going to save a certain amount of money, take that out of your paycheck so you don't even see it. And then you don't have it to spend. But there's a couple other in the moment. One is putting something into a shopping cart for 24 hours. And if you still want it, coming back to it. Often people are like, moment's passed, I'll move on. And it helps with that immediate purchase. And then there's other things of understanding what's important to you, right? If you're saving for a car, or you're saving for a vacation, do I want to picture myself on the beach in Tahiti or whatever, or do I want these $60 5 donuts? And I don't recommend anyone ever does that. But that idea of like, what is most important to me? It's not just about scarcity and not having any fun, but it's really prioritizing the things that you really want, as opposed to a lot of mindless spending, which I think is what happens to a lot of people, or signing up for a bunch of subscriptions, that kind of thing. It's just so easy to have a lot of money go out the door and then not have things left over for what's truly important to you.
Victoria, so I'm an elderly millennial. Tony is our Gen Z representative here, so
geriatric Gen Z.
It loathes me to even say this, but you say that Gen Z may be on pace to be one of our most savvy financial generations. Yeah, I know he's gonna love this one. So why is that, A? And B, what role can technology play in this, and can we all use to our advantage?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think there was a recent report that was saying that 70% of Gen X and Millennial plan to overspend, with only 60% of Gen Z.
Wow.
So they, I think, learned by looking at their parents, and I think there's a lot of talk about inflation, and so they're learning some lessons. But also with with AI being so native to a lot of younger people at the moment, they can literally go online and say, my budget is $250. I need to buy gifts for 5 people. What do you recommend? And so there's a lot of technology behind that. There's apps that track your spending, and it's much more easy to use technology to get insights that people didn't have before. When you were put certain amounts of cash in envelopes and use that as a budgeting system, and so there's a lot more out there to help educate people.
I think that's true.
As we learned last week, Gen Z thinks cash is cringe.
Now, let me ask you this. So, is there one secret or one point that hasn't been talked about in this sphere of financial independence or financial intelligence that you found in your research that people really need to know as we head into this era of AI and these new pressures that are coming upon us, especially for Gen Alpha going beyond Gen Z?
Yeah, I don't know that technology really solves any of the problems. I think it's still good habits and still making good decisions at that decision point. So other than more of that suggestions, I don't know that it changes the core spending habits and the way that people approach money. It just helps them, I would say, organize quite a bit better.
All right. Well, Victoria, Lakers, Kyle, the book, The Other Birds and Bees, The Financial Facts of Life, Money Secrets No One Ever Taught You. If people want to pick up a copy or if they want to follow you for more advice, where can they do that?
Absolutely. So we have a website, yourfactsoflife.com, and you can find us on Amazon if you look up actually Scott Kyle, it's easier to Google based on that, and then the title of the book you'll find the e-copy is only 99 cents. So
oh wow,
it's
saving money right there.
spend.
Exactly,
Yep.
saving money right there. thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Prime Time, saving us some money and giving Tony something to lord over me.
Oh, I'll tell you.
For the remainder of 2025.
How does the crow taste right now, my friend?
Tony,
does it taste good? Those feathers taste good?
Listen, Victoria doesn't know this, but everyone else who knows me knows you should never be taking any financial advice from me. So this is not a shock to me.
No, but
at all.
listen, hey, but you run your mouth about Gen Z, eventually the data comes back at you, my friend.
Well, Tony P, that's fair. All right, let's take another quick break, and when we come back, Tony P, we're going to talk about another topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts. Yes. We were talking about Christmas movies because I love all of my lists out there. I love my list, and the Telegraph is out with their list of the best Christmas movies and the worst. And we might take issue with some of these.
And I'm not going to buy any of them. We're going to buy them on the Comcast. Yeah, exactly. None of that.
None of that.
All free movies this
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this.
That's good.
Welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Monday night. Tony P, last week we ended the week talking about the best and worst Christmas songs.
We did.
This was according to USA Today.
Yeah.
We didn't love the list, admittedly. There were certain things that we think could have been changed. Is that safe to say?
I think the criteria could have been changed.
The criteria also was a little suspect.
Yeah, there was no consistency there.
You know I love my lists here.
I know you do.
And I love they're rage bait. I mean, it's the word of the year, and putting together a list and putting it out on social media is the easiest way to rage bait people into engaging with you, and that's what we're going to do here tonight because the Telegraph just released their list of the best Christmas films of all time, and they also listed 5 of the worst. You see right there, Home Alone, Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin on the cover of the post that they put on Instagram. So you have to assume that would make their top. And it did. They did not rank them. Let me just be clear here. They
That's
just
smart.
are listing some of the best and 5 of the worst.
I like that.
So let's go through what made their list of the best, okay? And this is not all-inclusive. This is just some of the ones that stood out to me. So, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Do you agree? Is that one of the best?
Yes, I didn't really see a lot of it, but I know it's got a great lore. People love it, so yes, I think it's objectively good.
It's also one of those ones that I think people kind of, it straddles both Halloween and Christmas because Jack Skellington is from Halloween Town or whatever it's called, and he goes to Christmas Town. So I think you could make the argument that it's covers both holidays as well. So that kind of gives it extra legs in life. Next up, Batman Returns. So we've got 2 Tim Burton movies off the bat, but that is not one I have necessarily thought of as a Christmas movie.
Neither
before,
have I.
Although I know that my brother is he is a big fan, and this begets the question of whether a movie is a Christmas movie because it is set at Christmas time.
It's not, because it's just a secondary context to the story. The story does not surround a Christmas path or a Christmas moral or everything else. Like, it's almost like just life is existing, but it happens to be at Christmas.
Okay.
Versus the story has a Christmas theme around it. So I think that's why Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Okay, that's okay.
It's not, because
that was going to be one of my next questions. And that is obviously part of the debate. And I think
context,
that could extend to this. Now, Die Hard did make their list, I will say.
It's ridiculous.
Miracle on 34th Street, I don't think that's any major surprise.
Yep, both of them were good.
Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. Now, what's interesting to me about this one is the one that they picked is the Benedict Cumberbatch DreamWorks animated one that came out a couple years ago.
What?
With Pharrell singing the theme song. So they didn't go with the Jim Carrey one, and they didn't go with the classic Boris Karloff that I watched this weekend. And also, my wife got me a copy of the soundtrack on vinyl, and I've been listening to it pretty frequently. Christmas Vacation, no-brainer, right? That belongs on the list.
Yes,
we can
it
agree
does.
on that. Tony watched it. He posted on Instagram recently about watching that movie when he got home from work one night. Charlie Brown Christmas, another classic.
Good one, yeah.
I mean, how can you beat Linus standing on stage, sharing the true meaning of Christmas? Lights, please. Home Alone, we mentioned. Edward Scissorhands. Now, I agree with this, but now we are at 3 Tim Burton related movies. But Edward Scissorhands I actually do consider, and I do watch it every Christmas. But it is another one that is kind of set at Christmas. But
that's ridiculous. Where's Rudolph?
I believe Rudolph might have made the list. And again, this is not all encompassing.
This is
you can
five
check,
or how many?
You can check their full list.
Frosty?
On Telegraph. The Muppet Christmas Carol, which you know I love. And
yes, that's a good one. Christmas Carol generally, yes.
They did have a few different versions of it on it, including the Alistair Sim version, I believe, from like 1954. Meet Me in St. Louis, which also had the #1 song on USA Today's list, Judy Garland, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. White Christmas, Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, that made the list as well. And Elf. Elf was another one on the list, which I think is probably one of the most modern classics these days.
I think Elf's overrated. I always have thought it's overrated.
Tony P's Choosing Violence tonight.
I think it's an overrated movie. I mean, first of all, I get, Will Ferrell's a great comedic actor. Anchorman's one of my favorite movies of all time. I just think that it's so overplayed. And again, like there's just, he's at the North Pole, the storyline.
How old? It's like 20 years old now,
2004.
right?
I mean, I just.
Yeah. So how old were you when it came out? You were pretty young.
6.
So you grew up with this movie.
I did. I didn't love it.
Yeah. So I did not. It's like I said, it's more of a modern classic for me because I went and saw it at a special sneak preview here in Tenleytown when I was in college.
Really?
So it was. There weren't a lot of great recent Christmas movies at that time.
It's a little over the top.
I still love it. Jimmy Caan classic. Mary Steenburgen. Yeah.
I know, but I mean, I think it's a good movie, but it's not. It gets like a whole marathon for 3 or 4 days. Like I don't think it's in the pantheon of Grinch.
How do you feel about a
Christmas
Story? Did you grow up on that one with Ralphie and his Red Ryder?
I thought it's a little bit above Elf.
Okay.
I don't think Christmas Story is in the top tier. I think it's I think it's in the A- with Elf. Elf's an A- B+.
Okay.
I just don't think those two movies belong in that top pantheon.
Do you remember when like TBS or TNT
they
would do the 24 hours of Christmas Story on Christmas Eve? I think that's part of what kicked off this like obsession with Christmas movies. And now obviously Hallmark has an entire channel. Their whole channel is dedicated to it. And
they're all the same. They're all the same storyline.
25 Days of Christmas. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the Ted Lasso clip where he's explaining to Roy Kent about Hallmark Christmas movies, and they suck, but they're great. And they suck, but they're great, and you can watch them with the sound.
Well, they're mindless.
They're still good. Yeah,
they're good to watch while you're wrapping gifts.
We're down to the final 4 minutes. Now let's get to their pick for the 5 worst. Coming in at #1, and again, these are not ranked in any particular order, but Love Actually.
What?
One of the
That's worst? Are you kidding me?
I think
that's one of the only modern ones I like.
I think there has been a more recent backlash to some of the storylines. People, you know, when that movie came out, I knew people who saw it multiple times in the theater. It was a must-watch every single year. I remember when the 20th anniversary rolled around and they did a whole retrospective and they got the whole cast together. Now I think looking back on it with a 2025 lens, people find it a little problematic.
I get that. I do. I think when we look at movies like that, though, again, like their impact has been for multiple decades now, and I think again, like it's a classic rom-com.
I still love it.
It's a classic rom-com. I think it's with the holidays. A great movie too.
Bill Nye singing "I Feel It in My Fingers."
It did, and like, and you know what? And also Hugh Grant doing the
jump.
And we're gonna jump. You know.
What was that? I should know who.
The Pointer Sisters.
The Pointer Sisters. Thank you very much.
I think it's great. I mean, again, like,
next up, Fred Claus.
Oh,
one of the worst.
Somebody picked on me with that one.
Five of the worst. I don't understand the Fred Claus hate. I don't understand it.
It's a great concept.
You know, this is the same people who hate Fred Claus are the same people who hate Neil Diamond. And Tony P and I will not stand for that, because we are two of the biggest fans of both you will find here in the DC region. Next up, Hot Frosty. That was a recent Netflix edition. It was a woman. I believe it's the woman from Mean Girls. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Not really, but
she's the one who tries to make fetch happen. She's in a ton of Hallmark Christmas movies. She made the jump to Netflix. She wishes on like a Frosty the Snowman, and he comes to life. Obviously a ridiculous plot line, but I don't think anyone... and then a more recent one, and this one stars... I got to look it up real quick because his name is slipping my mind. It's called Christmas Karma. I think this was a British one that came out this year, and it got terrible. It's got who is it? It's got a whole bunch of people in it. But Billy Porter. Billy Porter is.
I like Billy Porter.
I think this is another kind of Scrooge-related movie, but it got terrible reviews, and I think it was a British release, so I don't even know that it's come out in the United States.
Listen,
yet,
I like Billy Porter, so
the Telegraph is a British paper.
I'm not going to be angry at whatever he puts out, because I think he's a great talent. So I'm very much no Billy Porter hate here.
Yeah, none here either. But you guys can let us know what your favorite, least favorite are. You can drop them in the YouTube comment section.
What was that
you don't
movie
have
Michael
to be
Keaton
watching us live.
When he plays a snowman?
Jack Frost.
I like
I've
that
never
movie.
seen that.
I think it's excellent. And I cried the last scene.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I'll have to check it out. I'm also I was a big fan of the original Santa Claus with Tim Allen, Judge Reinhold.
Movie. That should be on the list.
Martin Short was in the later ones. It should be. I absolutely, of the ones that I own, it's most of the classics. Home Alone. It's the Santa Claus. I have the Muppet Christmas Carol. I've got Charlie Brown. I've got Rudolph. I've got some of those ones. And I've got Fred Claus.
The brother of Claus, like the Home Alone concept, like it's newer ideas on the holiday, and that's why they're Christmas movies, not Die Hard, being a cop on Christmas Day. That's not a.
But it does take place at an office Christmas party, which, as we talked about earlier, a recipe for disaster. Especially
that's a bad movie. Office Christmas Party, bad movie.
Office Christmas Party. I haven't seen it. I did see that one. I know exactly what you're talking about. It is a terrible movie.
Yeah.
We're down to our final 30 seconds. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you to Tony P for making the flight back to the United States in time for another episode of the show. Coming up tonight on Fox 5 News at 10, Josh Rosenthal talking to Commanders fans about everything that happened during yesterday's game. Jayden Daniels getting hurt again. And like I said, Nana Banzo has more on that. Frederick meeting about those diesel generators. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. and we'll have some more fun stuff.
Can't wait,
cooking
brother.
up. In the meantime, we're going to leave you with a little live picture of the White House. Fox 5 News at 10 coming your way next.